We got Morgan Lander here from the band Kittie, and I'm super stoked because Kittie has been a band that has been around the new metal scene that I've been so excited about since I was like first listening to our radio station, Razor 94.7, way back in the day. And now, as the programmer of Razor, I get to play new Kittie. So this is so cool. Morgan, can you tell me about right now we're playing We Are Shadows. Tell me a little bit about that track.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's super cool that it sounds like you grew up listening to Kitty. I think we all did, myself included. I mean, we started very young, so it's been a growing and evolving experience, and we are very happy to be here again, making new music. 25 years after the fact. So yeah, We Are Shadows is sort of a track. I think it harkens back a little bit to some of those new metal beginnings with like a fresh modern take on it. I wouldn't say that it's a new metal song entirely, but I think when writing this entire album, sort of sprinkle in a few of those, faintly reminiscent ideas. And I think We Are Shadows conveys that perfectly. It's a song about sort of losing control of the things that are happening in the world and just being resigned to the fact that things are heading in a direction that we may not be able to control. It's sort of like being, we are shadows, as in we are, shadows disappearing in the night. As the sun is setting, as do shadows slowly disappear. And Yeah, so I mean, it's not the happiest of songs, but I think it's one of the best tracks on the album. I truly love it. So
Well, let's talk about the album. And this is the first one you guys have recorded in 13 years.
mhm.
What is and this is a quote that I read that I thought was really interesting. It feels something deeper than fate that's brought us together again. What
Mhm.
that like that's a deep quote.
Mhm.
What was it that really got the ball rolling to get you guys in the studio and to make this album?
Well, I don't know. I feel like everything that has happened to us this quote unquote second time around has sort of fallen into place in a way that is very unexpected and admittedly very unkitty. We've definitely not had the best luck with a lot of different experiences that we've had over the years. And so all of this really started with some offers to play some festivals in the state. When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas had originally asked us to reunite to do a show, and we were like, let's contemplate this and see if it's something that we actually would like to do. And we also did the Blue Ridge Rock Festival that year, which those were things that for us were exciting opportunities, but not necessarily kind of opportunity that would be like, well, let's start writing songs together. We did the shows and we expected that that would sort of just be it. And While we were sort of in the middle of playing those shows, we were approached by Sumerian Records, who we have a history with the head of Sumerian Ash, who saw our show at when we were young and was super impressed and said, I'd love to put out a Kitty album. And we were like, well, we don't have any new music, so you might have to wait a bit. Um, but yeah, like I mean, I feel like it's a strange sort of uh reawakening of the band, redemption a little bit in a way. And it feels different this time, and I think that's important.
What do you mean by redemption? What do you need to redeem, I guess?
Well, I mean, I don't want to like focus so much on all the negative things, but we had right out of the gate in late '99, early 2000, there was a lot riding on the things that we were doing very early on in our career, and there were a series of sort of unfortunate events that sort of cascaded and didn't really allow us to sort of live up to, I think, the expectation that we had the band, and that a lot of other people did as well. And you know, sometimes fate just deals you a hand that is not always the best, but it was a learning experience. And you know, the latter years of I guess like to call like the first part of our career were definitely not the easiest. And you know, eventually we just sort of lost all morale. Morale was very low, and we just sort of lost excitement and, you know, lost hope, I guess. And so, you know, it definitely does feel different, and it's nice to be able to sort of redeem and and come back from sort of the brink, and feel like we have the second chance that we always sort of wish that we had. And in that way, I think there is some redemption in that.
Now with the second chance and writing the new record, the what was the most different part of writing this record than, you know, obviously in the early days you were very young and you had, you know, young people energy. What was it like recording this one? Because you hear the with the songs, One Foot in the Grave is right, that's a One Foot in the Grave, yep, is vastly different than We Are Shadows, and that's different than Vultures. Like, it seems like there's a lot of influence, a lot of different styles in the record. What was it like, and how did you come up with the flow for it?
Yeah, well, I think we were really just sort of writing from the heart. You know, if there's anyone out there that it has followed Kittie's career, you know, beyond the first one or two albums, you'll hear echoes of a lot of those styles. You know, we evolved a lot as players and as musicians and songwriters, and I think the variety that is sort of presented on this new album is really just sort of like a reflection of all of the things that we have been, and all this the I mean, it's all metal, right? But there is a lot of variety that I think it's important to have, you know, to keep an album interesting. And so I think our approach really wasn't that much different than in the past. However, like the actual writing of things was slightly different, just because we all sort of live in different areas. And it used to be that we would get together in a room and jam it out, and that's how we would do things. And we just didn't have that luxury now. Everybody sort of moved away to different areas and started their lives elsewhere. So we had to utilize technology a bit more to demo things remotely and do things remotely. Which, I mean, it's the world we live in these days. So it made it quite easy, and not necessarily as daunting as maybe I think we possibly thought it was going into it. I think it worked out just fine, you know. And for me, writing, I think once you get into the groove of things, it's nice to just feel that flow, and what comes out, you know, whether it's something that's, you know, really intensely angry, like a song like Vultures, or something a little bit more melodic, is, I mean, it's all coming from us, from the heart. So it's just representative of all the things, all the people that we are, all the masks that we wear.
Sure, that's I love that line. Um, what was the first riff that you wrote for the album? Do you remember?
I can't remember exactly, but it might have actually been the opening riff for Eyes Wide Open, the very first song that we had released. That was a riff that I had kicking around very early on, and it was one that would get stuck in my head a lot and other people's heads a lot, that when I was playing it and sharing it. So that sort of was a small indicator of like, "Well, maybe you're onto something here." So if that if that was not the very first, it was definitely one of the very first standout riffs on the album.
Gotcha. I love the guitar work, and everything is just so like it's very tight and very musically sound, and that's what and you can also see art within that, and that's, I think, a very important thing these days in music. What is your view on the current music scene, and, you know, from where you started to where you're at? What's I mean, obviously it's going to be a giant change, because the like the
Yeah.
2000 was a vastly different year than 2024. But what's your view on the music scene and how heavy music is being consumed these days?
Well, I mean, I think it's very interesting, coming from my initial experiences in the like the last of the good old days of the music industry. Things are definitely different now. A lot more happens online. Everybody is consuming their music through mostly streaming and things like that. So as far as like how the industry and the strategies and things like that about release are concerned, like there is a lot of difference. Just sort of in trying to keep up with how people are consuming music and stuff like that. I mean, like the industry itself, it seems to have adapted well enough, and like we're sort of playing catch up, being old people trying to figure it all out, which is cool. I love learning new stuff and figuring it all out, and it seems like people are cool with it too. I think the metal scene is thriving right now. There's a lot of really, really great bands. It seems like metal and hard rock are, doing a lot of interesting expansions and crossovers and things like that. And I think it's got a wider audience than ever, and I think that's it's pretty cool. So no complaints there.
Right on. You said earlier you were approached by Ash from Sumerian Records,
Hmm.
now on Sumerian Records, and they bought Mayhem Fest, which is going to be doing the Bring Back tour or show in San Bernardino in October. What is, I guess, what's it like working with a label that's so involved with their musicians and setting up things like this?
Well, I mean, luckily for us, the whole Sumerian crossover thing allowed us to be offered a spot at Mayhem Fest, and that's something that previously we'd never done before. So this will be our inaugural appearance at the newly revived Mayhem. Sumerian Records is really really cool. They definitely take a lot of pride in the work that they do. I think they're very good. Like they're a small label, they're an independent label, but they're very good at you know making sure that there's attention given to all of their bands, whether they're like big or small. For us, like our experience, like for instance, is like we've made 4 music videos from this record. We've released 4 singles. That's more than any other album that we've ever done before. You know what I mean? And this is our 7th album. And so to me, it just really shows that like they're very invested in making sure that the public is staying engaged and interested in the music and whatnot. But as far as like the creativity and stuff, like we kind of just left this alone, or like do your thing.
Mhm.
But it feels really great to be supported in that way. And I mean, I'm really really happy. I'm super impressed. Like 4 music videos. Who like that's to me that's amazing. Not even at the height of everything that was happening at the dawn of the new millennium. There, did we have anything like that? This is all new and exciting for us. So.
And Fire, the album comes out next week on Friday. What of the song, besides the songs that have been released already, what is one song, if you can say, I don't know what the rules are on all this, but what's the one song that you're like, oh, I can't wait for those guys to hear it?
Oh, that's so tough. I mean, there's so many great songs. It's hard to pick just one of your children that you love the most. And I mean, I think like on Spotify, Apple Music, you can see the song titles, you just can't hear them until they're released. So there's a few of them. I think Fire, the title track and the opening song of the album, is gonna really knock some socks off.
Hell yeah.
It's definitely a great it's got a great opening album vibe. I think it will satisfy the Kittie fans like right away. So that's gonna be my choice.
There you go. All right. Well, beyond the small headlining tour that you've got with the Mayhem Fest, a couple of other festival dates, are we going to see you guys in the States anytime? Maybe next year or this year?
Yeah, we would love to make sure that we try to cover as much ground as possible. While I know, like I've said in the past, and will reiterate, for us that we are not going to make this full time anymore. So like 9 months out of the year touring that we used to do, it's just we're old now. It just hurts too much. But yes, absolutely. I think it's in the works to definitely do more stuff. These headlining shows that we have coming up are sort of just like a little test run to see. And I'd like to think that next year the wheels are already turning for things, more stuff next year. So
Right on. Well, Morgan, I really appreciate your time. I'm so stoked. Fire coming out next week on Friday, and it's great to talk to you. And I'm very excited, and I love to see how excited you are about this as well.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I'm just excited to be here, excited for the new album, and happy to be rocking again.